This is a great question. Okay, your daughter has a behavior plan. Now, issue is that she's to see a social worker 20 minutes a week, and she does not like the social workers. She stated numerous times, is it the school's job to find the right person to help her, or do they have the right to just say she refused and throw up their hands? No. Now, the big kicker here, and everybody needs to remember, is that when it comes to behavior, social emotional development behavior, okay, I understand the potential benefit of involving a social worker. I do. Now, at the same time, and I hope social workers don't get offended by this. I guess if you get offended, you get offended. Nothing happens when you get offended, guys. So, no, nothing happened, you see. So, because look, at the end of the day, I scrutinize my own field. Just because I'm an attorney doesn't mean that I would be a good tax attorney for you. So, that is always my question when it comes to any profession that is so broad and ambiguous that somehow just because you're a social worker somehow makes it magical, that you know how to deal and address every child deficit in social emotional development and behavior. No, that's ridiculous. And it's also a reality that some kids just are not going to meld or mesh with a particular social worker. Just like they're not going to mesh with a particular counselor, with a particular psychiatrist, psychologist, it doesn't matter. Church leader, teacher. So, that's always my question is that when a school system says, well, we're going to get a social worker involved. Why? And for what reason? What purpose? What makes this particular person qualified to be able to address and help my child gain skills? All right? Because that's the entire point. It's not about necessarily, behavior management. Because why are we managing behavior? We should be trying to extinguish, mitigate, or reduce behavior responses by equipping the child with skills to be able to manage, self-regulate. Acquiring the skills for, positive human interaction, confidence in these areas, not just management, behavior management. No. So what is it that you're working on, that's tangible, to where it makes sense to the parent that the parent can be a partner in the process of helping the child generalize across all the settings? Give me the background of why the social worker believes that they're the one, or why the school believes that this person is the one. And if your child has already said, look, I don't like this person, then yes, our children should have a voice. It is their IEP. This is individualized for them. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to waste services. And if your child's not making progress because they're claiming that she's shutting down, not participating, and not being receptive, well, is she not being receptive to the service, or is she not being receptive to the individual providing the service? There's a difference between the two. And no, they can't throw up their hands. I have school after school after school that will sit there and say, oh, James, this child's lazy, this child is non-participatory, and they try to blame the child. Now, you can't blame the child, guys. The child has a recognized disability. The child has deficits. We provide goals to address these deficits. And you can't sit there and blame the deficit for the end result of in your ability to not being able to provide a FAPE. That's ridiculous. But yet I see it all the time. A kid's lazy. Well, no, the kid has a deficit. Maybe you're a crappy teacher. I had plenty of them. But I tell you what, I had some awesome teachers too that were able to sit there and light my fire for learning and keep me maintained and passionate in every subject that I was in, except for math. That's the only one. I don't care if they had, go-go dancers out there and some party music, it wouldn't have made a difference. All right. So just understand that it is one of those things to where, we don't blame the kids, but we should listen to them and be receptive to their wants and needs, and then find an alternative in order to be able to serve them. So I think it's very valid to ask your child to ask your child, and no, they wouldn't be able to kick her to a therapeutic school. They may try, but it doesn't mean that you're without recourse to stop that or prevent that from happening. Okay, they're not extreme compared to some of the other kids, and are due to mistreatment by teachers last year, and I don't doubt that at all. So there's a trust issue. But once again, you need to ask those critical questions. Why is this person qualified? And yes, you more than likely are going to run the risk of offending somebody. And guys, at some point we've got to grow up and stop worrying about hurting everybody's feelings. It's not doing us any good. Look around at our political environment and our social environment. Everybody's so scared to have a conversation about anything because somebody might be offended. Hell, I have a crackpot teacher in a case that I'm in. I went to an IEP meeting, and she started barking at my parent, and the resource teacher, and I shut that down. My parent was over here crying. She was crying, and I shut that down. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, she was like, "Oh, I don't like how you're talking to me, Mr. Galini." And I'm like, "But you want me to be okay with how you're talking to my client? Because I only see one person crying here." Well, that was it. But yet I heard afterwards that this resource teacher was offended and was exploring ways to prevent me from going to future meetings because I had offended her. And she was trying to get her union to, attend the meetings as a protection to protect her from me. Well, that didn't pan out. Because nothing happens. You got offended. So what? Grow up. I digress, but I'm telling you, you got to ask. Sorry, my gimbal went out of battery. You got to ask the pertinent questions. And, and also ask those pertinent questions to your daughter to try to get a little bit more information as to why she feels the way that she does. They should listen to her. I don't care how old she is. This is still her IEP, and these are still her services.